welcome to Bare Minds. Today we have Bob, we have Edouard and Gabriel.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, so we're gonna start talking with a syndrome called board out in France. Many workers are experiencing this. Why don't you start with what board out is and how Bob is solving this problem?
Yeah, board out is kind of like burnout, which everybody knows here, which is people working too much and experiencing like too much stress and so on. And board out is same with boredom. Like there's a lot of jobs with people that kind of don't care, that are really boring, and it's really an important syndrome in France. People just don't care and don't work any longer. And at Bob, we want to address this problem and help people to focus on what they really like in their work and just stop doing boring stuff.
So if I take a super concrete example, if you think about a designer, so designers are creative. This is what they like to do, and sometimes they have super boring stuff to do, like rename thousands of files, or if they need to do a specific campaign where all the pictures are going to be black and white, they need to update every picture in Photoshop, and it's going to take a while. So we want to help those people find a solution to those problems, and our solution is code, and it's called Bob.
Interesting. So why don't you tell us about the initial stages of coming up with the product, putting together a team, and trying to solve this issue?
So to give you a bit of context, we're in a program called Learn to Launch. So it's a master's program at UC Berkeley, and it's a program designed for European people to help them create a startup in the best condition possible. So it's a program that's been running for a couple of years, and so I went to this program knowing Gabriel, and it's pretty specific at first because like you need to create a team with the people that are in the program. You need to come up with an idea, which can be a bit surprising. Like that's not the usual. That's not how startups usually work. And so we met Gauthier, who is also French, and we had this idea of helping people work better, focus on what they love, and he went on board, and so we've had a great time with him.
Well, what do you might have differing opinions about this, but how do you feel about this sort of approach to having startups and accelerating your ideas, sort of bring people together first and with the end goal of having a startup, and then saying, okay, come up with an idea, come up with a team, as opposed to the other way, the traditional way?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit strange because that's not how things work usually, and that's why it's a program. Like, we're still students. I think it can be odd, and the goal of the program is more about learning how startups work, rather than creating a functional startup or some kind of a Silicon Valley accelerator for people that had a project before. But like the reality of it is that it works. Like many startups come from this program. They're pretty successful. Like I said to you, like it's a pretty young program, a couple of years, and so the startups that came from this program have raised a bunch of money, and so it's pretty cool to see that even in those kind of harsh conditions, you can put some awesome projects together, and so this is what we have the ambition to do.
Awesome, that's really good to hear. So let's get straight into the actual product and your initial stages. You're about 2 months old now?
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so like tell us about the journey. What kind of issues have you gone through? How many iterations of your product have you gone through? I know we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
You did go through quite a few, so.
Want to start?
Yeah. Yeah, we have had a few iterations, as you said. At first, even the vision was not clear. We started by wanting to build a product to help people code, to help people do scripts themselves to automate their boring tasks. But quite quickly we understood that people didn't really want to make the scripts. So we tried to to find a specific task, specific domain where people had a lot of boring stuff to do, and we found data scraping, which is basically taking data from a website into like a database or Excel format. And so we tried to focus on that for a few weeks, and we also quickly understood that there was just too much competition, too many companies who did like great products, and we didn't have any added value to the market. Without really innovative technology, we couldn't have an impact. So now we're back on finding some group of tasks, a domain to focus on, but we want to do really as a service. Like you tell us your problem, and we find a solution for you.
Yeah, and to give people that don't code maybe some context and to make it clearer. So what we want to do, like the idea is that a computer is an amazing piece of technology. Like it can do a lot of stuff, and it works with code, but coding is super hard to learn. And even if you know how to code, like a lot of the time you're gonna get like some kind of stupid error, and it's gonna take you a lot of time to write a script. So we came up with this idea that basically was saying, if everybody knew how to code, people could use the complete power of the computer and never have to do something boring ever again, you know. And there's this book that's called Automate the Boring Stuff with Python, and it's basically about this. It's helping people, creating tools from code to help them work more efficiently and focus on the interesting stuff, being creative, being smart, and stuff like this. So the first idea was this. And like Gabriel said, we went through different iterations because we realized that people didn't want to code. We realized that people often wanted a solution, especially in businesses, which we are targeting. And this is kind of how it works. And so, like today, what we're trying to figure out is what's going to be the best approach to target businesses, what kind of tasks people want to automate, and stuff like this. So this is the stage we're in right now.
Okay. So what does the market look like for this back in France and in the Bay Area as well? Because in the Bay there's the opposite syndrome called burnout.
Yeah.
Which is way too much work as opposed to the problem you're trying to solve, which is not enough creative work.
In a way, those problems are kind of linked. So if you just have a look at the facts, like burnout, people want to work. They work too much. And the thing is, if you could like take, let's say like 20% of your job, give it to somebody else, so they take care of the boring stuff. I mean, you could work less and be as productive as you were. This is kind of the idea we're trying to work with. And what was interesting is like we did a lot of customer discovery, customer interviews, and we talked, like I gave you the example of designers, and we talked to for instance freelancer designers, and they told us like when you're a freelancer, you have all this boring stuff to take care of, you know, like because you have all the position in the company. You need to find customers. You need to talk to the customers. You need to design what they need, and you need to complete the sale. I mean, that's a huge process, and that's a lot of trouble for a lot of people. So what's interesting is that we want to help those people just focus on what they like, and we take care of the rest. And so either like in the burnouts where people work too much, or in the bored outs where people have just like stuff that's really not interesting to do. So that's basically the idea. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I think that was
a great answer. So.
Could you talk more about the companies that you've talked to and sort of their specific issues and how you see Bob helping them? You talked about the 10
Yep.
businesses you've talked to, given your landing page to. Tell us about what's the feedback been on the.
So this is super fresh. Like we shipped the landing page yesterday, so we don't have any feedback yet. But what we know from the customer interviews that we did is that there are basically, let's say, like 4 huge problems for companies right now. So basically, you've got data scraping. So by this I mean like taking data that's not in a computer readable format on the web and putting it into a database. So the people that need this basically is like every company should use data scraping tools to know the pricing of their competition, stuff like this. Second one is everything that's linked to Excel, VBA. That's some. These are some pretty old tools, and it's always interesting to provide some expertise because people they need to work on Excel and they don't know how it works. So most of the time it's we can bring some expertise in this field. You've got internet research. So this is also a huge field because you have all this information on the web, but like we've all lost hours on Google trying to find the answer to what we're looking for. So this is something that's an issue for people and a task that many companies outsource to India and countries like this. And the final one is a bit specific about consulting because we did a lot of interviews about consulting. It's once you have information, if someone in your company has found information about a specific field or something like this, you want to be able to put this information in the correct folder to be able to use it again and not have to do the work all over again, which is a big issue because like companies have troubles creating like databases of knowledge. So these are the four main issues. So our strategy, like you said, is sending this landing page to different companies. So we started with 10 French companies. So why French? Because we're French. It's easier to ask for a favor. Like, you're French, I'm French, we're both in the Silicon Valley, let's help each other. So this is the way we proceeded for now. And we're hoping to get some feedback because the four things that I told you, I mean, those are assumptions. These are the consequence of talking to a lot of people, but basically we're not sure these are big issues. And so we want to see like if we give our tool to people, how they are going to understand our tool because like it's pretty broad what we do, how they are going to use it, if they use it, are they price sensitive, because this is a big issue, and this is all the information we need, like testing our assumptions, and it's going to be pretty interesting. Like in a week, we're going to have some pretty interesting feedback. In a week? Yeah, probably, yeah.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So that's some growth hacking advice for France. Be French.
Yeah.
Why don't we transition a bit into the general technology and entrepreneurship landscape in France, and specifically the two of you are both students in Paris Polytechnique. So this is all you about the general landscape of technology in Paris.
I say it's really different from here. Talking about engineers, I mean, in Silicon Valley are the best engineers. Every engineer comes to Silicon Valley to work here, and they're paid a lot, and it's quite expensive to hire a very good engineer. But in France, it's not really the same. I mean, the school we have are more and more technically intense compared to here. And some say that engineers are maybe better in France, and and what is really interesting for a startup to be in Paris is that engineers are a lot cheaper than here. It's really easier to hire a good engineer that will help you on your startup. But for a startup in Paris, it's really not as simple. If you want to raise money, it's really more difficult. I mean, there's lots and lots of money here, and in Paris it's not the same. But I think we are building a really interesting ecosystem in Paris, startup ecosystem that which is quite growing quite fast. And I don't know, we'll see how it turns out.
And I also think that in French, like, you have less money, but also less competition. Like, it's smaller. I kind of have the feeling that here, like, everybody's working on a startup project, And if you have, like, France is I have the feeling that we're pretty good at creating startups. It's like in Europe. No, but I mean in Europe, Paris is a pretty good place to create a company. And the thing is that nonetheless, like there are only 3 French unicorns, which is like ridiculous, compared to the US. And so this is kind of an advantage as well, because like if you're working on some interesting projects, I think you can get a lot of help in France, because like there are not a lot of projects that get a lot of traction and stuff like this. So it's it's pretty interesting.
But is the consumption of technology, sort of these apps, the same in France as it is in America? There's a lot of consumption here. I think that's what makes it possible for so much money to be made. But is it sort of the same in France from what you've observed?
I mean, the cliche is like saying that in France everything is lame at first, like even the iPhone is like whatever, I don't care about this phone that can do everything, so people tend to not really be early adopters in France. So that's the big cliche. And actually I interned into a French hardware company called Prince, and so they were in the same program as us, and they moved back to the US because they said, like, if you want to launch a product that's going to be cool, you need to be in the US because people are going to go crazy, and there's going to be this huge trend behind it, and this is the best way to proceed is to create it in the US. But I mean, this is maybe more true for B2C businesses, which we are not. We're a B2B company. We want to sell our solution on as a service, and we want to sell it on a monthly fee for businesses. And so I think it can be super interesting for us to launch at first in France, especially given all the barriers of like not being an American in the US can exist. Like, meaning like the language for one, it's hard to be to communicate in English. It's harder to convey your message, and also like we've got a good network in France, not so much here. So it's pretty. I think we're gonna start in France and see how things go.
Okay, so what does the next year look like for Bob in terms of a timeline?
It's a question.
2 months raising 2 million in seed money, and then in 6 months. I don't know what you think, but I think that first we need to, like I said, we need to figure out something, a specific task or a specific way to tackle tasks. So we can really know in which direction we're going. We are in the super early stage of the company. We're trying like different options. It's super fast iterations, like idea, testing it. Okay, that was a bad idea. Let's say something else, etc., etc., etc. So I can't really say what it's gonna look like, but figure out something and then putting the plan into action.
Yeah, it was a really difficult question to ask for such an early stage.
Yeah.
But okay. Let's just take a step back again then.
Yep.
Go to your backgrounds and how you got interested in sort of startups and technology.
Okay. Want to go first?
Gabriel.
I mean, we're both engineers. So personally, I was in technology for a long time. When I was a child, was really into computers and always interested in science and technology and so on. And I know it didn't seem right to work in a traditional company for me. And I really wanted to express myself, to create something, and to see what I can do. The hard way, not the easy way. We're working for someone and so on. So it seemed quite natural. And I saw the opportunity to come here to Silicon Valley to learn from the best. And I just took it. It was seemed obvious for me.
I was not like the choice was not as obvious as Gabriel for me. I was never really into startups, and actually a few years ago, so we're in this French school called Polytechnique, and on the website of the school there was an article about about 2 students from our school that created a company and that had employees, and I thought, oh, that is so cool. Like they know how to do they know how to do stuff. How did they went from like being me to being like entrepreneurs and creating amazing companies. And so I sent him a pretty I sent him a mail asking questions, a lot of questions, and they were super nice, and they answered like in a few days, and they told me, yeah, we're looking for interns, so if you want to come, just come. And so I went to San Francisco, and I did an internship over there, and I thought this is definitely what I want to do. Like, this was great. There was so much energy and passion in what they did that I thought, okay, this is obvious for me. I need to create my own company. And in fact, they did the Learn to Launch program. So I was like, yeah, okay, this is what I need to do. And this is an awesome program because we get to spend some time in the Silicon Valley, which is really the place to be. Regarding startups, like there's so much culture around it, so much money. People are also. I don't know if you share this, but people are really here to help. Like, it's super easy to you're gonna meet people at an event, and this is what's great about California and Silicon Valley in general is like, you're gonna talk to people and talk about your project, and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's so interesting, and I have a friend that works in this. You should give him a call, and this is how it works. And so yeah, definitely awesome to be here.
Definitely, generally more optimistic about products here than anywhere else in the world.
Oh yeah. It's crazy. Like, especially coming from France, where people are gonna be skeptical. Sometimes try to like destroy your project and say, oh, that's so dumb. And here they're like, yeah, wow, that's amazing. Come have coffee with me and let's talk about it. So it's pretty cool to be here.
All right, let's talk about Learn to Launch in general, and maybe we can wrap it up around that. So Learn to Launch, what is this program that you're a part of? What is this? Why are there so many European students coming over to Silicon Valley to start their companies? It seems like there's a trend worldwide, and France seems to be at the forefront in terms of European countries leading the entrepreneurship sort of revolution. So how does Learn to Launch fit into this?
So the Learn to Launch program is like an exchange program where we have 40 students from France and one from Germany.
Morocco as well. So
so we come here for a semester, and we have some classes about entrepreneurship, and we're meeting a lot of people, a lot of companies, and at the same time we are building our project, our startup. And it's really great. Personally, I find the classes really interesting, and the project it's really good. But why do so many people come here? European people and French people. I'd say it's everybody knows it's the best place to learn everything here. But also, what's interesting is that when you launch a startup in France, in Paris, it's at first it's always for Paris and for France, and even for big startups, they just focus on France, and maybe after like Europe, England, and so on. But it's really hard to think globally. Where here in Silicon Valley, it's always just you launch it at first in SF, but then directly the entire world. And I think that's why it's so interesting for us to come here, because it really make us think more globally for our startup.
And also, like I said, like the culture is so different here, super interesting. The person that's in charge of the program is a teacher at Harvard Business School called Mark Upperth-Smith. So he's also he's an entrepreneur, and it's super interesting because he wrote a book about failure and how we need to avoid the fear of failure, and how it can sometimes paralyze us. And so this was, I don't know what the feeling you had, but this was like, for me, I arrived like in the States, I got this book and said, okay, that's it. That's the spirit here. Like in France, I kind of get the feeling like, if you fail in France, if you try to create a business and it fails, you kind of a loser, Whereas in the US, that's good, that's something positive. You can learn from experience, you can get back on track. And this is, I think, essential for entrepreneurs to kind of see something different and take all of this, all of what we've learned, come back to France with it. It's a great experience overall.
Yeah, that's really an important factor, is that culture around failure. I feel like no other place, not even in America, is so open to embracing failure and just breaking things and moving fast. So it's good to see that you're all here, and hopefully you can bring that back to France and build up that culture. But it's exciting to see what the next 10, 20 years holds for Europe in general. Maybe the Silicon Valley of France might be in Paris. Yeah. Who knows? All right, so thanks for coming today. Let's close off with a word of advice for other entrepreneurs in sort of your situation, maybe your situation 2 months before.
Yeah.
What kind of advice you would give them about how you would start, what you would avoid doing, what you would encourage?
Okay. Want to go first?
I'd say the most important thing is, everybody says this, but the team is really the most important thing in a startup, and it's not really working together and having a group dynamic. I mean, that is important, but for me the most important part is really sharing some vision, some common how you see the world, with your mindset about the world and the problem you're addressing and what you want to build. Really sharing this vision and being crazy to build something together. It's definitely the most important thing.
Mine's a bit different. So, like I told you, when we got here, we got this book about failure, and we also got the Lean Startup and Guy Kawasaki Out of the Start. So we got those books, and at first I began reading them, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn all the theory about like creating startups, and I'm gonna know everything, and I'm gonna create a startup like I did, in college. Like you learn your lessons and then you get the exams and it works. And no, that was not the good option. Like you need to really like do stuff. I think we lost some time maybe in the beginning trying to figure out like the best way to proceed. And right now we're like way more faster. Like we don't bother. Like if we don't agree, we just like test an option, see how it turns out, test another option. So like doing stuff, failing super fast, like learning from your failures, and that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. All right, so that was Bob. You can check them out in the description. We'll talk to another startup from Learn to Launch next year. We'll talk to another startup from Learn to Launch next week. Tune in again next week to talk with Smad and the founder Fabrice Zapfak. All right, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming. All right.
Okay, cool. Also, you're having a SMAD next week?
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun. Yeah.
He was also like, he had a really general idea.
Oh yeah.